Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the MMA Clarity Sessions. I'm Linda Kender, and I'm the Regional Director for MMA MENA and KSA. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. It was a very sunny morning a bit earlier, but now we're in rain. welcome,
Thank you.
welcome to Roxana, the VP of Brand Marketing in WeGo. Hi, Roxana.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Samer. Hi, Tamer. Nice
Hi,
to be
how are you?
here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Pleasure. And good morning to Samer, who is the head of creative strategy at Mina and Snap.
Hello everyone. Hello Roxana. Hello Linda. Hello Doctor.
Hi,
And
Sam.
last but not least, Dr. Tamer Al Tony, the SVP of Digital Adjacencies and Devices from eAnd.
Nice
And
to meet you, everybody.
thank you to eAnd
Likewise.
and Dr. Tamer for facilitating today's. It's brought to you by eAnd, and they're one of our long-standing members and sponsors for most of these super events. So I'm going to give a very small introduction about MMA, just for the people who are joining us who don't know. So the MMA is the Media and Marketing Alliance, and we are a nonprofit founded for the sole reason of making marketeers' lives easier by showing the way, sharing best practice, approaching marketing with a scientific and technological approach, and bringing it back to the industry through webinars, through trainings, through events, through different kind of ways we talk to the market. We are member led, so community powered and member led. So we have memberships in our local chapters, and they lead us in terms of what is needed in the industry, in our region, and how can we help fill in any gaps, if any, in the regions we are functioning in. So MENA falls under MEA, which is for us Middle East, Turkey, South Africa, and yeah, and North Africa. And yeah, we are here to um, make sure that marketeers have what they need. And it's a pleasure being here. I've been in the industry now for 25 years, and as it changes and grows, I think our role changes as grow and grows with it, to make sure that we are in the know and that the next generation of marketeers coming up are also well equipped for the future. Now, for these clarity sessions, there's two things to know. First of all, there will be 6 of these sessions. We will be having one every week from now until the 1st of July. And whoever is attending can have a certificate of participation at the end of it. And they are recorded, so we will be creating papers and results based on our talks here. We also have our Smarties program. Let me just add that quickly in. The dates have been extended for KSA. It's now 13th of August, and for MENA, it is 25th of September as the deadlines for giving in your campaigns to be considered for the Smarties Awards. And to kick us off, I'm gonna just explain what these clarity sessions are, because they are new. It's a new concept that we came up with. As marketing shifts and as things change in our industry, in our market, we have to adapt, and we have to change um, more from how much we are doing to a very calculated and informed approach to the industry, how we're talking to the industry, how are we talking to our clients as brands, what are the clients and consumers expecting from the brands is shifting. And we would like to clarify from different perspectives, different brands, different verticals, let's say, on how the different brands are reacting and what becomes more important and what do we let go of. So to start off today, I'd like to set up with one question for all three of my panelists. And in the first one, in moments of rapid change, okay, like we've seen some geopolitical changes, some economic changes, even weather changes sometimes creates an issue for marketeers for reactions. What's the first thing you protect as a brand? And I'd like to start with Dr. Tamer.
Thank you. I think I would also add to the list that you have mentioned in terms of shift, also technology shift. So we have also this is one angle that needs also to be taken in consideration. The most important thing from a brand perspective is to ensure that you are always integral and you are always protecting the brand from a perspective of communicating whatever is going on from trusted sources. So you make sure that the customer are aware of how we are dealing with whatever situation it is, whether an economical situation or geopolitical or a technological situation, and what is your position towards this. So if I would take the technology as an example to start with. We have seen shifts from metaverse to AI to blockchain and from blockchain to others. So these have been shifts that are significant shifts, and the adoption for the consumer at that level is not that smooth and that easy. So it's very important for us as a brand to communicate these technology shifts in a very simple fashion and in a fashion that is understandable and simple for the normal user. On other levels where there are changes in economy or weather or safety becomes very important, whether the safety of the people or the safety of the brand becomes one of the most important items that we need to take care of. And being a telecom operator and a telco provider, for sure, connectivity is one of the most important things that we make sure that it's always live and it's always there and everybody has access to it.
Yeah, I think during COVID, we all learned the value of connectivity more than anything.
Yeah,
We all had
that's
to
true.
fall online all of a sudden. And yeah, that's great. How about at Snap, Samir?
So,
What's the first thing you protect?
yeah, I think I'm gonna speak a bit on the perspective of the marketeer because my role and the role of staff is really to support the marketeers to achieve their objective. So for us is what from uh, at any moment we see signs in the market, be it the geopolitical situation or the pandemic or even the situation economical one or anything that can happen. What we make sure to focus on is sharing a lot of information because what we think is that marketeers should be protecting their share of voice. Why? Because the worst thing to do at that moment is to stop while others are continuing, and that could preempt a bit like of your market share or the share of voice of what's happening on the platform. Of course, as Dr. Tamer said, you need to be very aware of what you messages you're putting in the market there, what is the brand safety, what are those aspects. So we make sure to share information about how the market is behaving, and to make sure that our marketeers are really like I would say keeping the equity and the share of voice they build through time to stay competitive for the rebound, and keep an eye on when things are gonna change and when they need to restart, as we used to call it, the new normal, or the when we are back to normal. The other thing that for me is very important is also as marketeer looking at the pocket of opportunities, because even in any market, in Chinese they say a crisis is a mix of risk and opportunity. So of course you protect yourself against the risk, but you need to be ready for any opportunity. And we are seeing in the market actually, for example, today certain vertical are behaving differently than others, depending on marketeer are taking decisions that are different. So it's very important for us to keep looking at the data, sharing that data, and sharing with our partners how they can go through that moment in the best way. A note on that: when the crisis started, I remember a very good direction from the company, from our head of EMEA, who was saying it's not the moment to sell ads, it's a moment to help our marketeers stay afloat and navigate this period that's tough for them, and to make sure that you have those partnerships going forward. So for me, this aspect of share of voice, understanding where the pocket of opportunity is, to be ready for the rebound and not lose too much opportunity or revenue during that time.
Okay, so that's a very good point, Samir. There is a loss of revenue in that format. Yes, we all concentrate on partnerships, and some companies are able to take that loss and sort of bridge and hedge their profits for later. But what about the smaller companies that cannot do that? What are they supposed to do? What can they do when such a big shift happens in the industry?
I mean, it's very tough, especially on companies that are not ready in that moment, be it the cash flow aspect or be it an industry effect or like an investment that was coming up. I think for me, the marketeer should position themselves very close to the business leaders in the companies to show that they can add value through
Yeah.
the what they do as operations. However, of course, like in certain situation, it's a risk of business, right? If a crisis happens, marketing cannot do magic. But for me, repositioning the mindset from being only a cost center to become like a kind of support for the business in those moments is super important.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. How about Roxana? You come from a very heavily affected industry, and that's also a very interesting point of view for us to hear about. What was the first thing you had to protect as a brand internally?
Well, I would say that you have to protect the things that are hardest to rebuild and most enabling of future choices. And my short answer would be cash. Maybe
Okay.
not everyone would agree with me. And in this particular order, cash, trust, people, and judgment. Because all share that quality. Losing any of them forecloses options, while preserving them keeps every path open. And I would say that the mistake most leaders make in rapid change is protecting the wrong things first, usually short term revenue, market share, or even appearances, and sacrifices one of the four items I've mentioned above. And I will build a bit more on cash. Um, Cash buys you time, right? And time is what lets every other decision stay reversible. Without cash available, most of your options will collapse, or at least in our case as a travel company. You can't keep stuff, you can't honor refunds, you can't invest in the recovery, and you lose the ability to make good long-term decisions because you're forced into bad short-term one. That's why cash holds pretty much everything together.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Okay, so that's a very it's the reality of business, right? So,
Absolutely.
what is the first thing that you've cut as a cost to make sure that that cash is solid?
Marketing. In travel, when a crisis
That's the
comes,
most
the
difficult
first
answer for us, Roxana.
absolutely, because there is no other
Yes.
budget. In the travel industry, when a crisis happens, it's one of the most affected industries, right? Because
Yeah,
it's built on a
yeah.
discretionary income, right? People can, it's not a day-to-day need, so people will cut travel first for many reasons. And what you'll have to deal with the first thing is obviously refunds, cancellations. Cash helps you give back what by a contract you have to give back to your customers. And where do you take this cash from? Because you've paid the other suppliers, you paid the airlines, you've paid the hotels. So you have to make sure you have cash in hand. And marketing is the first thing to do. And secondly, why marketing? Is because during a crisis, I cannot promote travel. It will sound extremely insensitive. I cannot tell people during a COVID or a pandemic or a war, go and travel. It's safe to do so. So I'm pausing marketing and I'm focusing on supporting the customers.
Okay, so yes, it is you hold your cash to honor your brand's values and make sure that you are staying in the mix long term by making sure that everyone got everything back. But like as Samir was saying, internally the marketing team needs to support the image externally of the company other than when it's just the cash that needs to be given back. Your example is very specific, but Like if you don't have to give that money back, let's say to anywhere, and you can just tone down your marketing rather than cancel it completely, how does marketing function in that environment? How are marketeers supposed to function in that environment? Maybe we can hear from Dr. Tamer or Samer on what is the expectation here from marketing.
Oh, yeah, can you go ahead, Samar? Yeah, please.
And I love the note by Roxana on the idea of cash and especially travel. It's a vertical
Yeah.
that was totally disrupted, and I
Yeah.
think this is the point about thinking about vertical and the pocket of opportunity. And the idea of risk. I like the idea that putting the customer first, like for us too, like our customer market here, we put them first. When it comes to that moment, actually, that could be part of the communication. That we go stood by their customers to make sure that there is no crisis to manage, and this is actually to manage. And sometimes it's under marketing, everything that has to do with comms, your call centers, all the image that you have in the market, you're managing the image. And I think it's also part of what you communicated. And actually it might be that it's talked about, like that we go stood by and there was no crisis there and so on. So I agree on that. Like a very specific industry, they had to do very deep cuts even on people when we look at the hotels and different industry, because they are also in the same vertical of tourism. So for me is definitely correct. I think in the boardroom at different moment in time, people have a bigger influence. I think the CFO in those situations is the person to listen to and to understand where the priority will go and what budget will work with. For me, the idea of readiness and totally, Roxanne, like the most dangerous thing to lose is like your brand equity, the risk on the brand, and so on. You keep on being present there and be ready for the rebound. For me, the ready for the rebound is the most important thing. Now, how long can it stay is a difficult estimate, and that's also depending on how much you're bleeding on cash, be it with anything that is happening. Like sometimes you need to take hard decision that might be on people, which becomes another thing. So definitely, I think it's a right thing to balance. But for me, what I wouldn't want to discount is like the opportunity that other vertical are having. People are traveling less, so they have actually money for other things. Some people are buying, for example, stuff for their houses. I bought a chair because we had to work from home for a month. I had given up my COVID chair. So it's all about those things, about like what people are actually reacting, what they're going to buy. And depending on the vertical, understanding and having the knowledge of the vertical to react correctly is always the right effect.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're all in like sort of digital environments, right? All three
Correct.
marketers today are definitely in digital environments. Of course, there is the shift that we see in the market, but how does it communicate into a digital environment? Like, when do you guys say, okay, there's a shift, let's stop, something is happening, and we have to react differently? What is that for all of the different brands here? So, Dr. Tamer, if we can start with you.
Yeah, in general, and also to comment on the previous one, is that in terms of communication, we have to be always relevant. So you have to be relevant to the customer, you have to be relevant to the situation, you have to be relevant to the emotional and psychological status of the customers at that point of time. And you have to provide what makes sense. So if I would take whatever Samer was mentioning around COVID, in COVID, at the time of the crisis, we have seen an opportunity where people started to realize they have to invest more into their homes. So they started creating the home gym and the home office and the home cinema, and they started to invest in there. And people started to realize they need more technology, they need more tablets, they need more laptops. People started to realize that printers is something that is coming back into the homes, where we were moving totally out of paper because of homeschooling. So once these things happens, there becomes an opportunity, whether on a digital space or on a physical space, in order to communicate whatever is relevant to the customers, whatever would give them support, and whatever would help them to pass through whatever the situation is. So enabling the customers with these type of tools or these type of products, and of course, each and every industry would differ. Not everyone has the luxury to provide, but definitely there is a type of an opportunity. So this is on an external part. On an internal part, it also gives the opportunity to organize the house internally. So there could be some things and platforms that has not been fully developed that you may need to develop, or things that you would need to build for the future in case a similar exercise or a similar shift takes place. So this type of internal, external opportunities that takes place helps the organization in general to come throughout whatever situation is.
Excellent. I think it was a very nice way put it. You have to be relevant at the time where you can actually solve. So, like being relevant with a solution rather than just going on with whatever your, campaign that was going to happen already, and just changing the signals. Okay, so Roxana, what was your biggest shift indication that you've seen? Obviously, the war was a very specific one, but like in general, if there is some kind of shifts in behavior of customers, where does it come out first?
Absolutely. So it's the search behavior itself, which is the biggest indicator for us. And it gives an early visibility into what people are considering before they commit. And obviously the booking, which shows when intent becomes an action, right? During normal periods in travel, search trends might show growing interest in destinations, seasonality, pricing. During crisis, the signals can change completely. People usually stop searching for leisure and travel and instead look for routes connected to family, safety, relocation in this case,
Yeah,
for returning home, right? And this crisis is a bit different than COVID crisis for us in travel, even though it has pretty much the same foundation, has a different playbook.
yeah,
So this time we are seeing a lot of relocation, returning home, and so on and so forth. In markets with large expat population, because again, we operate in the entire MENA region and beyond, and markets are so different in terms of behavior. And we noticed that in markets with large expat population, like the UAE, for example, demand shifts from holidays to staycations, for example, within the UAE. And I think we all noticed that people tended to go on shortened trips, even to work out of other Emirates. We are seeing a lot of one-way trips in terms of booking, urgent travel, and so on and so forth. So booking patterns as well, not only the searching patterns may differ. Users are choosing to book directly with airlines and hotels. We, as an aggregator, our role is to be the middleman and to show the travelers the entire travel marketplace available. During crisis, we see that people get closer to .com domains to booking, airlines and hotels, because it's easier to coordinate, right? You don't have that middleman in between, and that puts a lot of pressure on us moving forward.
yeah.
So this would be the main indicators for us, apart from the external ones, which you are all seeing, right?
Yeah, of course. How about Samir? Samir, you are like sort of operating with a younger generation that's much more adaptable, and they're not as heavily impacted as our generation of take things seriously. They really, I mean, I live in Istanbul and I travel to Dubai, and my 15-year-old was like, "When are you going to Dubai? I ordered something there." And I was like, not right now, but like, she's in a different world. So what was the shift that you guys felt? COVID was a very obvious one, obviously, but like here now.
I'm not sure if you used your credit card to order, so you might know
Yes,
already, Shona.
of
Yeah.
course.
I think, look, you'd be first for the audience, you'd be surprised in MENA how the audience in Snapchat is much wider than other countries. Other countries have concentration on Gen Z and younger people.
Yeah,
And the MENA region, especially in Saudi, like we have a penetration that goes across all age ranges, which is like quite a unique place for Snapchat in the world and in the region here. For me, the question about like even like for me at those moments, we cannot say that our audience don't care. Actually, we see it, and the platform, because it's very intimate, very about close friend and close friendship. This is a place where people were checking on them a lot. So for us, we have many signals that come to us as a platform. That would be like, if you want, it's a pulse of the actual market. We would know if I would say the engagement on the platform is higher, like because we can feel it, like the amount of people being on the platform. We can also know if the marketeers are continuing to spend at the same level. And we know also our ROAS, which is like the return on ad spend, if it's going up and high. And we know we can look also if it's by vertical and so on. And we can see those numbers. And for us, it's a lot of info. Uh, and I think this comes back to the idea, like in that situation with so much info, is where you look or data. What do you look at? What you can communicate, and how to share that information with your partners, who are the marketeers, who are trying to make sense, and the agencies who are trying to make sense of the situation, what to do, and so on. So for us, we can look at verticality depending on the client and so on. We can look at certain patterns of activation on, for example, if chat maybe is more active during that time. We also we are very active on the safety of content. So it's
Yeah.
also something that's very important. Snapchat has been for a very long time very safe in content, because people share something in a close circle. Things don't go viral like it would be on other platform, because you're really connected to a more limited number of people that you care about. So we are very for us is making sense of those one, seeing what vertical are working, connecting with the clients where we see like maybe some of them are finding better results, so they might be spending more. Others, for example, they stopped and were surprised, like, why are you stopping now? And actually, it was their stocks. They didn't have stock anymore to sell because the shipping is not arriving anymore. So you start really seeing what's happening, and this is where we open those conversations. And talking about the idea, like what Roxanne was saying earlier about the changes, and it's true that I only heard staycation in my life when it was pandemic. And
Yeah.
you were mentioning earlier about the rain, that it was sunny and then it rained.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Europe when you are passing in the street and it starts raining. Everybody in their shop, they have umbrellas. They
Yeah.
bring it to the front of the door and they start selling them. So I think in a way, we just digitize the world, even if you have a lot of signals. Before, people needed to look outside to see if it's raining. Now we have all that data and we're actively on it. But it comes also from a behavior, like we are really engaged as a platform to really think how we can preempt to support our client. And this is where we are proactively in it. So I think in those situations, what's important, wherever you are in the ecosystem, is to stay alert on actually what you should do to support each other, to understand, and so on. And I would say maybe the pandemic came a bit in a slower way, unexpected. So we are also trying to understand what happened in earlier crises to try to adapt and look at certain things, but still keep a fresh eye and understanding, is this different? What
Yeah.
does it mean this time? Are people behaving differently? So yeah, and we're very lucky that in the region, even throughout the crisis, there wasn't like a major, like we're very well protected. So
Yeah.
there was a level of resilience in the market that we saw that is very rare compared to other markets. Like the resilience of the consumers, the attitude of the market of the country was actually quite impressive.
Yeah. Actually, I've heard something recently that resonated. It's like, if I leave here, where is it safer? The world has become a bit of a, we're all like looking at safety in a different way. And yes, as you said, resilience has changed, especially, I think, globally, not just in our region, but especially in our region. Um, okay, let's say longer term. Okay, when I mean, the pandemic sort of had an end date. We all came back from it, and everyone tried to rebuild in their own way. Right now, there is, the situation is calm. It's everyone is feeling optimistic, let's say. If something takes a longer term, how are marketeers supposed to stay with their head afloat? As you said, there's going to be issues with stock. A lot of people, even though the demand is high, people snack more, for example. Most of our snacking partners are saying, okay, yes, they want to snack, but we cannot even advertise because there isn't enough stock in the market. So what happens longer term? Dr. Tamer, for example, EAND is a national carrier, so it's a very important one that has probably thought of the future.
Well, I think in general, it's a matter of disaster recovery and business continuity, and what your policies are, and how you have multiple scenarios in terms of planning for different types of situations and different types of scenarios. And in this case, the attention, of course, goes to the mission critical activities and the mission critical services that would require lots of attention. So this is where the investment would go, the attention would go, all the practices and the procedures and the processes would be catered towards ensuring that these mission critical activities are taking place. And of course, pre-planning and having type of drills in order to make sure that whatever scenarios are taking place are covered is a fundamental key for the success in that situation, and it never happens by coincidence. So it doesn't happen by coincidence that you find your connectivity always live in different types of situations. And we are very lucky to be staying in a country where it's at the top end in terms of technology, especially from the government side. And it's very rare when you find that the government itself is leading before the private sector, and it's making sure that whatever it uses is at the top of the technology. And we have recently seen the government announcing that within 2 years, the AI agents would become part of what they provide, 50% of the services from the government. This is a very bullish sort of a move. And it shows how the UAE in general and the UAE leadership is always catering for the technology and is always catering for how to lead. And I always recall and give this example is that UAE was the first to announce an AI minister in 2017. This is far more earlier than the AI hype itself. So this shows the strong vision of the country, the strong vision of the leadership, how they are planning for a long term, more of a short play. And this we are blessed to be staying in the UAE.
Yeah, that's a very important point. We're going to come to AI in a minute. Roxana, how would you see resilience going on through your brand, through your company, long term, if things don't go back to normal sooner than later?
This is a very hard question, Linda. As you know, most crisis playbooks assume the crisis ends, right?
Yeah.
But when a crisis becomes the new normal,
Yeah.
which we've seen in the past, when rapid change becomes the steady state, the rules shift entirely, obviously, and you stop managing the crisis and start operating in one.
Yeah.
And adaptation works differently from one industry to another. I'm going to talk purely about travel, right? Well, the first mental shift is from waiting to start building again, right? We are all in that mindset. When can we start? And we want to restart building. And cash response posture, as crisis response posture, as I was mentioning before, cash preservation, hiring freezes, pause investment, defensive marketing, all this stuff is sustainable for months, but it cannot be for years, right? If the crisis persists, that kind of posture of preserving cash starts destroying the business on a long run.
Yeah.
So talent leaves, product stagnates because you'll have no money to invest, investors will run away, and so on and so forth. So maybe the first adaptation is recognizing that you can't stay in a crisis mode indefinitely, right? You have to resume building with different assumptions baked in. The second shift is rebaselining what normal means. Because now, if this is going to go for a long time, we have to see what's the new normal and to start adapting to it. If the crisis is indenting, your old plan targets, operating model will just go to the bin, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully will not reach that point, right? I'm just assuming how this would unfold in case.
Yeah.
So I think the adaptation is just to reset new forecasts based on the current reality, new KPIs that reflect what's actually achievable, and to
Yeah.
stop putting those unrealistic targets which we keep on living on during, well, the normal.
Yeah.
And teams need a baseline which is freshly new. I'm talking of baselines because in
A
travel,
more
this is
realistic,
where
a
we
more
start building
realistic
from,
line.
right?
Yeah.
The third shift, I would say, would be more structural and not tactical. Short crises are managed with tactics, right? You do discounts, you do flexibility, communication, and so on and so forth. Long crises require really structural changes. And back to the new normal, right? You have to redefine that. The cost base gets re-engineered, not just trimmed, as I was mentioning before. The product portfolio might change, even for travel. For example, in COVID, we started selling other travel-related projects. We opened a cashback marketplace, so we adapted to that. We launched a new product, so our business shifted because travel was at zero at that point of time. So you get into this structural change. And maybe another thing is you just find a new demand if possible. In travel, you rely on demand coming from this region. Maybe you want to build products in different regions, right, which are more stable,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So I would say reframe the crisis as the context at the end of the day, not an interruption, just to summarize everything. And we also have to do the mental shift to stop saying when things return to normal, because language defines how we action as well, and start saying, well, in this environment, this is
Yeah.
how we're gonna win moving forward.
Absolutely. Samir, would you like to add to this point or?
Dr. Tamer and Roxana covered a lot on this.
Yeah.
I think the assumption that things will go back to what we know might be the biggest risk.
Yeah.
And just like thinking, like it's fine. We're gonna do the same. I think the biggest opportunity that we have now is not only to think about the new product that this crisis could bring, like Roxana was saying, but also the ways, like Dr. Tamer was mentioning AI, like the shift into AI today. If you take that time where your objective are very short term, but you add to it how you can transform the way you work with AI, and this huge amount of data that's coming to us from all sides, then you can even multiply your impact as a team way beyond what you used to have, even certain time against odds in market, even if some company might be looking at a leaner structure. For me, in that sense, also maybe the thing that we're talking about us as a companies, but when you look internally at our teams, it becomes the importance of communicating between functions about what are becoming our new priorities, how we're looking at things, and so on. Communicating with our team who might be feeling also the stress. And people, if they get stressed because of the situation, it can impact your performance in a way. But it costs you nothing just to reassure them, communicate to them, make sure that they're engaged in the changes, they understand the bigger picture and how we're moving. Uh, and for me, when I worked in Saudi Tourism Authority, it's what we used to plan on a year, like a year plan or so. In Snapchat, we plan on a quarter. Now, even our quarterly plan are a bit shorter. So I think that flexibility, as Roxana was mentioning, like what is actually your plan? What is your OKR now? Keep on tracking against them. But I would always keep an eye on the rebound. This is where I like the word rebound rather than going back to normal, because rebound is seeing when it's going to rebound. what product might become like. I remember certain airlines during the COVID time, they became their cargo section become huge, just
Yeah.
because cargo become like money making, and they had the right plane to do cargo, so it became another source of opportunity for them. And this is where the beauty of business is, right? You can do you need to be that flexibility, and we are all in business, right, to make sure that we may bring the value that the company or the business model is evolving, and bring that value to the consumer and to the company.
Okay, so let's say, as everyone is now, I'm addressing, we're being very honest and addressing the questions that we get from the market and from the industry, very straightforward. So I'm going to put it as I got it. Let's say we all come back from the summer and everything is perfect. You know, life is rebounded, it's back to normal, it's the new normal, whatever it is, it's a more safe and calm environment, and we all are able to resume business, not as usual. It is going to become a very crowded space if we're all waiting for Q4 to miraculously recover our full year, right? As marketeers, as brand marketers, as consumers, it's all going to become very demanding all of a sudden. I mean, I think because we're running events, there's 17 marketing events in November. Okay, so it's going to be an issue for all marketeers to try to gain focus on how to get back and how to recover and how to rebuild going in. What strategies do you have for that rebound point? That would be interesting to hear from you guys. Maybe we start with Roxana this time.
Well, oh, that's an ideal scenario, right? And
Yeah.
most of the leaders quietly hope for that.
Yeah.
But I think it's more difficult to plan for it properly, right? Everything's back sounds like an easy outcome for all of
Yeah.
us, but it actually has its own set of traps, right? For example, again, I'm referring to the travel industry. Maybe this could be relevant to other industries as well. The first risk is snapping back too fast and undoing the discipline you just built, right? Crisis usually they force some useful changes. Leaner cost base. Now we are all concerned, especially in marketing, about cost. We look into every single dollar. We negotiate harder. Some of us, we have leaner teams, and I have, unfortunately, I had to downsize the team as well. We have sharper priorities. All hands are on deck, so people can pick within the department some other people's tasks and so on and so forth. And when demand returns, the temptation is to relax all of that, right? We want to rehire aggressively. We want to spend as much as we want to restart all the post campaigns and so on and so forth. The brands, though, that handle recovery well, keep the discipline still in place. Well, some of the things will change, right? But that discipline, I believe it should be kept. And the brands who are keeping this properly will win out of this, right? The second risk, which I would say we might miss seeing, which was my case during crisis, it would be misreading the signal, right?
Yeah.
We might say that everything now is back, right? But it could be a seasonal bounce only, right? And a temporary lull in a longer pattern. Acting
Yeah.
as if the crisis is permanently over based on a few strong months of booking is how businesses get caught flat-footed when the next wave hits, in case, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I will try to bring some positive stuff as well. Obviously, we got prepared for a post-crisis. We have the marketing ready for that. and we are planning not to go to the market and to say, well, nothing of this has happened, now it's business as usual. In travel, we have to rebuild that trust because now the customers facing delays in cancellations, refunds, and so on and so forth. Don't trust the travel provider anymore. So we have to go through that process, right? To admit what we've done wrong, to show what we are doing right now. And slogans will not work in marketing, but facts would, right? So the short answer, if everything is back after summer, I wouldn't celebrate by undoing what I've just learned. I would rather capture the share, keep the discipline, honor the behaviors, and most of all, I would verify if the recovery is real.
Yeah. And if it's long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Tamer, what do you guys have in store for rebound?
Well, in general, I think once you have a recipe of how you manage things during and after crisis, it becomes somehow a sort of a clear framework or a guideline on what needs to be done next. I fully understand and I agree with your statement that it becomes super cluttered. Everybody's trying to push his calendar and events and agenda at the same point of time. Sometimes this is a good problem to have, and it is part of competition in general. And whoever delivers the right message and manages to plan earlier and have a very strong communication channels across different communication vehicles, so he becomes sort of the winner at the end of the day. So this is one. The second one is that having that sort of positive appetite of things and looking at things from a different angle in lots of cases helps, because whoever is able to forecast or anticipate the end of a certain cycle is the one who manages to win more customers and who manages to be there for the customers first. And this is where new markets takes place, and there is where the new target segments can be addressed, and definitely more services and more products, and accordingly more revenue.
Thank you, Dr. Tamer. How about you, Samer?
I think it's a very interesting thing in business. I personally think deep down that any uh, entrepreneur or business person is optimist at heart.
Yeah.
They work for the future. This is going to be successful. They put that effort there. So I think it's always important to feel that better days are coming, and they're coming. I think the important part in our sorry, I have a yeah. I think the important part in that is to the point that Dr. Khan was saying, is like, can you predict the rebound? Like, are they gonna be announced? Tomorrow is the rebound. Be ready, guys. Tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, everything is back. No, like, we will not know. A rebound will be where we all feel that things are going better, where actually the opportunity we're following are growing, where everybody, that optimism is shifting. And then after a month from the rebound, we'll look, oh yeah, good. We are back strongly in the business. And this is where, for me, the readiness to that shift should be always there. And what is your plan and what opportunity you're looking at during that time? And of course, preserving all the opportunity that you created during that time. You're talking about Q4, actually, that maybe all the budget will be pushed for Q4. For us, we see that the World Cup is a great opportunity in the region. We have 7 Arab teams that are in the World Cup. We have 3 regional, Qatar, Saudi, and Jordan, I think, who are in the World Cup. Egypt also. Like, there's so much happening. This is Q1, right? It's next month. It's like in a few weeks. We also have, and that will be like so much pride, so much motion in the market. There will be also the national days, the smaller moment that are happening. Back to school is going to happen. People are gonna be back to school. So I wouldn't discount everything that it will be a Q4 focus. Within that time, it's important to make the most of that moment, or or at least try have a plan, seek those opportunity, because this is what's going to liberate new cash, as Roxana was mentioning. Like, how is it important to keep that running? And for me, like, all those habits that we created, looking at moment at smaller opportunity, is going to make us much better companies next year. Maybe those opportunity were hidden, but you are just bidding on this bigger, more expected opportunity and so on. So actually, that crisis could have unearthed much more. And as Roxana was saying, within the team, people who are doing more, who are like exploring more, maybe they created new opportunity that they saw because they're expanding, they're growing into new area of the business. That could become something important. So for me, staying optimistic, being grateful that you are in a region in the world where there's a whole the region is built on optimism, and actually the opportunity that we can have, and following it, and making the most of it. So I would say, don't wait until somebody else tell you the recovery is here. It will be too late for you. Keep on working as if it's coming, and have the plan to make the most of it as it happens.
I love that. I love that, Samir. It's, I think, a very important point that is missed is that we all look at such a big picture when a crisis happens. We look at the totality of all of its effects rather than breaking down the moments where we're going to have to do stuff that we already do. We're human. You know, when schools are out, the parents will have to take their kids and go on vacation somewhere. Wait, they're not going to wait until school is back in for them to travel. So I think that's a very strong and positive message to the region. You know, prioritize the smaller moments, stop looking at the bigger picture and waiting for major shifts, and just go ahead with the smaller shifts, the smaller wins, let's say, to get there. I'm gonna ask the room if there are any questions. I cannot see, but maybe someone from our team. Zainab, if you're there, do we have any questions in the room? Zainab? Okay. All right. So I guess there's no questions. If there's one last statement you want to leave the market with, Dr. Tamer.
Always stay active, stay positive, and make sure that you are progressing regardless to whatever the situation is.
Excellent. Roxana?
Well, I will just reinforce what has been already said by all of us, is that we are blessed for being in such a region. And in the morning, I was just telling my family that if another health crisis is coming, I would like to be here.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Samer?
I think like character shows up in the toughest moment, and it's a moment to show the character of marketeer, the resilience, and celebrate the wins that we can have, and make sure we stand close to our team, we stand close to our business, and as Roxana said, keep an eye on what the CFO is saying, because at the end of the day, as a business, it's very important to make sure that we are aligned and making the biggest opportunity for them.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd love to thank you for your time and for your opinions and for your commitment to the industry. Being with us today means you're thinking beyond yourselves as marketeers anyways, making sure that the industry is in the know through your knowledge, and giving back to the industry that way. Thank you again to EAND for sponsoring today's session. And we look forward to seeing more and more of these conversations. Please do join us as participants in the next ones as well. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.